Alright, I know what you might be thinking. You clicked on the video with the opinion that games shouldn't go up in price. Or the thought of, yeah, duh, games need to go up in price, they cost more to make, plus the economy warrants higher prices for games. Each of these opinions are reasonable ones, and I'm not really here to debate. You've probably seen other videos on this topic before, and you might be of the opinion that gaming should stay a relatively cheap hobby, so new gamers can try it out without too much investment. Or you welcome high prices because you understand that making and marketing games is not cheap. This video won't be about debating raising the price of games. I'm not going to explore the pricing history of gaming. There are videos out there that do these things, and I'm not really looking to do research on that topic, at least as of now. This video will be more on my opinion of games with a high price and if they deserve their price tag. Obviously, money value of a game is subjective and based on several factors, like how much playtime can be achieved from the game, if that playtime is worthwhile, if the game functions, if the game feels or looks high budget, if the game is innovative, and many more factors. Even someone's willingness to spend money, how often they play games, and how much they expect out of new games is a factor in perceived value. Personally, I usually buy games at a low price, usually on sale. The only time I've purchased one of these $70 games was when it was on sale for $42. I still haven't played it, so I might have lost a couple bucks getting it when I did. However, I knew that the reviews of the game were high, and what I would be getting into would be an experience worth my money. I'll get to that game later on, but just so you know, it is the highest reviewed game on the upcoming list. Now that that's out of the way, let's talk about the relatively new $70 price tag, and more importantly, which games have that price. I'm going to be looking at the general positivity of Steam reviews for these games. I'll go in order of Steam review, worst to best, stating my opinions and the game's general reception. First off, we have Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 from 2022, sitting at a high review score of 12%. I could give a massive rant and make a whole video for this game alone, but that's not what this video is about. However, I'll give a brief rundown for those of you who don't know. Starting off with the obvious stuff. Call of Duty is a series that releases yearly. Each iteration is somewhat different, but every game in the series follows the same base gameplay formula with occasional variations. In the recent few years, Call of Duty started using more free-to-play models in their games. Battle passes, seasonal updates, in-game stores, and a Battle Royale mode. Warzone, Call of Duty's Battle Royale mode, is free-to-play, but the base game costs $70. The problem is the split focus of content between the premium game and Warzone. Warzone gets a majority of developer attention and hard work, while the actual paid part of the game doesn't get much in comparison. Plus, at least with Modern Warfare 2, there were some debatable design choices for the paid section of the game. Why should players pay $70 for something that hasn't changed much over each year's iteration, and if anything, the paid part of the game has even less focus than previous years? On the note of yearly releases, we have EA Sports games. Every year, these games come out with slightly updated graphics and maybe new characters, but that's about it. From an outsider's perspective, these games appear pointless as yearly releases, but I don't know. The last EA Sports game I played may have been NHL 08. Either way, NFL 24 has 32% positive reviews, FIFA 23 has 54%, and PGA Tour also has 54%. Redfall was a massive flop of a game, launching with bugs, bad writing, an empty and uninteresting world, and many more issues. Redfall was developed by Arcane, the developers that made Dishonored and 2017's Prey. Redfall was published by Microsoft and had a multiplayer focus pushed by Arcane's parent company, ZeniMax. ZeniMax pushed for a multiplayer game, which caused Arcane to suffer from a misguided vision, staffing issues, etc. Some developers wished that Redfall would either be rebooted as a single-player game or just cancelled altogether. Most developers left and were replaced by new hires expecting to work on a single-player game for Arcane. This $70 game with a poor development cycle and tons of bugs and performance issues was reviewed at a 31% positive score on Steam. Wild Hearts, EA's spin on Capcom's notable Monster Hunter games, also failed as a quality game in the public's eye. At 48% reviews, The game, at least on PC, is terribly optimized. According to most negative reviews, the gameplay isn't bad. It's innovative in places, but the innovation doesn't make up for the low quality product, especially at a $70 price tag. The game has been out for 6 months, but not much has changed in terms of performance. Negative reviews are still flowing in because of EA's refusal to fix the glaring performance issues that the game presents. Wild Hearts could have been a solid game in the monster hunting genre, and a competitor to Capcom's renowned series. But its performance and $70 price tag detracts from what good may have come from the game. I went back and forth considering if The Last of Us Part 1 should be on this list. I obviously decided it should. Why should it be on this list when it's really $60? Well, to get the full version of the game, including the story DLC, you would need to spend $70. Now, what's the problem? Games priced at $60 often have DLCs that total above $10. Why is The Last of Us special? Well, the original game is a decade old, and the DLC for it came out 6 months after the game was released. Oh, but it's a remaster. Yes, a graphical remaster for a game that already looked fairly decent. Oh, but it's the first time it's releasing on PC. Yes, but it's still 10 years later. Even if we were to give the game a pass for releasing at a higher price point because it's on a never-before-seen system, we just can't. The base game still costs $70 on the PS5, which automatically includes the DLC. You can't pay $60 for the game without the DLC, or decide to spend $10 later. Remasters should not be at a higher price, at least during the industry's transition into $70. Games that are strictly graphical remasters do not deserve to be worth $70. Remakes that fundamentally change at least something in the game are at least a little more justified. Resident Evil 4 Remake, although not $70, actually rebuilds the game from the ground up and is a somewhat unique experience when compared to the original. The Last of Us Part 1, on top of being $70 and reviewed at 60%, had a buggy launch with performance issues. So much for graphically upgrading the game. It has since been fixed, but when launching at $70, this shouldn't be a problem for games, especially remasters. Remember how I brought up that Redfall was a massive flop of a game, launching with bugs, bad writing, and an empty and uninteresting world? Well, Forspoken checks some of these boxes. The game was memed to death before it came out, purely due to the ridiculousness of the dialogue and writing, even in the trailers. The game is reviewed at 61%, and it flopped so hard that Square Enix decided to merge the developers into itself. Talking about this game makes me feel bad because the developers probably actually cared. And I might say something too harsh, so I'm not going to continue. The game was bad, some people might like it, but that doesn't make it worth $70. Oh hey, another EA title, Need for Speed Unbound. It's pretty cool, I guess. It probably plays like every other Need for Speed game, with some new additions. Need for Speed Unbound has a review score of 62%. Most reviews share the same criticism. The gameplay is fine, but really not better than any other Need for Speed game. The graphical style and some gameplay additions are nice, but not really worth $70. I don't have much to say on this game. The last Need for Speed game I played was Most Wanted on the PS3. Actually, I think I played Hot Pursuit once on the PlayStation 4. Either way, Burnout Paradise is the best open world racing game, and I don't think anything can top it. Fight me in the comments. Need for Speed Heat is sitting in my library, unplayed, so I don't know. That might be good. I got it for less than $4 and have heard mixed things. Tangent aside, let's get back on track. The racetrack? No, the regular video track. For the last of the mixed reviewed games on the list, we have none other than Star Wars Jedi Survivor, another EA title. The only publisher pushing the $70 price tag this hard. 7 out of 10 of EA's last games were $70. Jedi Survivor has potential when it's playable. It was released 4 months ago and still has terrible performance on most systems, according to the reviews at 63%. Wait, we've seen this before on another EA game. Does EA just not care or something? Do they just publish a game and walk away with their money and give a half-hearted apology without following through? Yeah, probably exactly that. The game might actually be good and enjoyable for the people who can play it. But why is that an issue? If it's a $70 product, it should show $70 worth of quality to all people who purchase it. Yes, it's more expensive to make games now, but what's the point if the games aren't playable? Alright, okay. It's time to stop being negative, which I have been for most of the video so far. Can games be justified in being $70? Or are there any good $70 games out there? And most importantly, why are there only 2 in this section? Well, 3 if we'll get to that one later. The first game on the list above 63% is Hitman 3 at 84%. What makes Hitman 3 so good? Well, first off, it's 3 games in 1. The alternate title for Hitman 3 is Hitman World of Assassination, and it's a culmination of the Hitman trilogy. 90% of the DLCs from the 3 open world Hitman games from 2016, 2018, and 2021 are included. Essentially, this game is a trilogy bundle. You get 3 games worth of content for $70. The only time this is a bad deal is if you already own Hitman 2 and all of its DLCs like me. Hitman 1 and 2 are not for sale anymore though, so there shouldn't be any confusion when buying Hitman 3. Having played through most missions in Hitman 1 and 2, I can tell you that $70 is a pretty solid value for those 2 games, plus whatever comes in Hitman 3, as well as its updates and new modes. This is especially true when the game goes on a 50% sale, which is fairly often. Last but not least, for the games with a higher V-score, we have Final Fantasy VII Remake, Part 1, sitting at an 89%. Ironically, Hitman was basically a trilogy bundle for $70. Final Fantasy VII, on the other hand, is a third of a game. I'll get to this later. And it's for sale for $70, but reviewed higher than Hitman 3. For a remake rumored to have 3 parts, shouldn't Final Fantasy VII be reviewed lower, especially when priced at $70 and potentially even more per part? Well, having not played either the original nor the remake, even though both are in my library and fairly high in my backlog, I've done a lot of looking at other opinions online. Final Fantasy is a ground-up remake. The currently released first third of the game is an expansion and enhancement of the original game's first act, not just with graphical differences like a certain game listed beforehand. Final Fantasy VII serves as a third of a story with the size and scope of a full game. The graphics, as usual from Final Fantasy, are top-notch. The game has a premium shine to it, and the developers of the game brought back a classic in a modernized fashion 24 years after its initial release. Final Fantasy VII is one of the most notable games of all time, and Square Enix is bringing it back in full. An otherwise linear and closed area in the original game was expanded for Part 1 of the remake to have enough depth worth of content to be its own game. From what I've heard, the ending functions on its own, but will be enhanced by the game's future parts. I'm excited for the series to play out, and I hope it succeeds by living up to the original's legacy. Now, before it's too early to call it, I think Starfield being a $70 product is fine. I've seen enough gameplay and watched enough reviews from early access and after release to know that the game has the scope, scale, function, and hard work from the developers to be worth $70. Sure, it does have the Bethesda charm with its bugs. Sure, it doesn't have the best facial animations and isn't truly groundbreaking in any way. But that's completely fine when the game works and people are enjoying it. I was never a big fan of Bethesda RPGs. I genuinely want to like them, but they aren't my cup of tea. I only have 23 hours between Fallout 4, Fallout New Vegas, and Skyrim. But from what I've seen of Starfield, people are enjoying it like it is the next Elder Scrolls or Fallout game, but in space. The skill system interests me, and if I like Bethesda RPGs more, I'd consider getting it. It's a game that is justifiably $70 for the people who like Bethesda RPGs. It has enough content and replayability to be worth that amount. And from what I've seen, it doesn't suffer from open world bloat. Or at least it doesn't just as much as other standard Bethesda RPGs. Games are more expensive to develop, but more expensive games should not be a lower quality. Games worth $70 should functionally be worth $70. These $70 games should launch and perform like a $70 title, whatever that means. They should get a week 1 patch at worst. People shouldn't have to wait months or even indefinitely for their $70 game to function when other games at $40 or lower run so well. The price otherwise is not justified. Why should anyone spend more for a lesser quality product? Games are still able to be made and break boundaries while also being at or cheaper than $60. Elden Ring is a $60 game with no microtransactions, an open world that is far from empty, and an engaging combat system. Baldur's Gate 3 is a game that took the world by storm this year and was only $60. Again, with no microtransactions. Why is it that arguably two of the best games in the past 2 years were $60 with no microtransactions, while incomplete games managed to release monthly with a $70 price tag and offered deluxe editions and sometimes even microtransactions? Yes, I know, greed and the trends of AAA gaming is the answer, but my main point is that it's ridiculous. One should not have to pay $70 to get a product arguably worse than $40 products released years prior, or even in the current year. For games coming out that'll be $70, I'm skeptical to say the least. Mortal Kombat 1 might deliver. NetherRealm usually does their games right, from what I hear. But EA Sports, FC24, and Call of Duty's Modern Warfare 3, well, I don't have any expectations for them. Call of Duty lately is not worth my money, and EA Sports games have never been on my radar. Games starting to be $70 sucks, but honestly, it would be a bit better and understandable if the products with a premium price tag actually served as a premium product, not something subpar. Sure, this does happen occasionally with games like Hitman 3, Final Fantasy 7, and even Starfield, but these games are the exception, not the rule. I'm going to wrap up with a few games that might be worth your time and money. Now, this is completely subjective, but I'm going to try my best to include all types of games that I enjoy for a semi-cheap price. We do need a lot more positivity in this video after all. Slime Rancher is a $20 game that frequently goes on sale. Its sequel is in development, and I'm looking forward to playing it on release and when I clean up my backlog. The Batman Arkham series, excluding Arkham Origins, is $60 and frequently goes on sale. This series is amazing in so many ways, and $60 is a real steal. You can spend $15 for The Binding of Isaac Rebirth, which is a game that has given me so much quality playtime, especially with its DLCs, which can total around $50. Bloons Tower Defense 6 gets updates frequently, has co-op, and keeps me coming back. All for $14, and less when on sale. Borderlands 2 Game of the Year Edition is $40 when not on sale. Again, it goes on sale frequently, and is a pretty well-renowned game, especially if you plan on playing it with friends. Subnautica is a great game, and it is worth $30 with frequent sales. BioShock The Collection is $60 for two pretty great and historical games. You might also like BioShock 2. These often go on sale for $12 total. Deep Rock Galactic and Warhammer Vermintide 2 are both solid co-op PvE games for $30. Both go on sale frequently for $10 and $6 respectively. Portal 1 and 2 can be bought at $15 in a bundle and less than $2 when on sale. Skyrim, Fallout 4, and Fallout New Vegas Ultimate Edition are $40 and $20 respectively, with semi-frequent sales ranging around $7. The Resident Evil games go on sale fairly often and soon after release. They also drop in base price. Resident Evil 4 is 30% off at $40 right now, and Village goes on a 50% sale for $20 often. Spyro and Crash's Remake Trilogy, coupled with Crash 4, is $100. And often $40 on sale, which is a pretty decent value for 7 whole games. Monster Hunter World and its expansion, Iceborne, are $30 and $40 respectively, offering a good amount of content for the price, while also going on a 50% sale often. Civilization 5 might not be the latest game in the Civ series, but it's still a good game, and you can get all of its content for $50, which can translate into literal weeks of playtime. Like weeks of playtime, not playing on and off for a week, but literal weeks of playtime. I would show my hours, but I don't play Civ. There's so much variety in games under $70, old and newer, classics and more niche games. I really could go on, but I'm not going to waste your time any more than I already have. Time is money, and there are so many games out there that don't waste your time or money. Play games that you find fun, and don't use price as a way to denote value. As seen in the video, a lot of $70 games aren't worth their price. Just consider if the game is worth your money and time before you buy it. You can find a lot of good gaming experiences in any price range. If you like this video, leave a comment and subscribe. All of this helps out with the channel. It helps my videos get out there, as well as encourages me to keep on going with this. I enjoy making these videos, and getting good responses on my content always enhances the experience. Until next time, later days.